Very excited to talk about today's topic, focus on the relationship between light and love. I've mentioned before the phrase from the Bible, a very mystical expression that says, when thine eye becomes single, thy whole body will be filled with light. Part of my research when I was young, I was very interested in science. That was my physics and math were sort of my background, what I was strong in university. Anyway, so I was always very interested in science, and Albert Einstein had been one of my heroes as a young man. And so I knew a lot about his life, but it was also his contribution to physics that had to do with understanding the relationship between light and the universe. And what he basically showed, and what I came to understand very clearly, was that light is literally the membrane between the space-time world and the timeless realm. This is why everyone, when they drop their body, they always experience this energetic reality of light. They pass through this membrane of light as their consciousness leaves the identification with the body and the person and moves into the cosmic consciousness, the timeless realm. So, light is literally the membrane between heaven and earth. Okay, and so this is why throughout time, there's always been references to light in regards to like a new idea or genius or the process of awakening or illumination, in enlightenment. So it's very important for us to understand our relationship with light and how literally light and love can be shown to be more or less the same thing. Okay, so I've often used especially when I would talk with a young person or a relatively new someone relatively young in their process of spiritual awakening, that our function that I talk about endlessly about being the conduit, the portal between heaven and earth, our function is much like the function of a green plant, a leaf on a tree, a blade of grass, or whatever. All green plants serve as a translator of energy from the sun into oxygen, water, and food. So literally green plants do for our earth. They're the ones that make life possible. I mean, the sun shines on Mars and the moon and all the other planets and all that. But without green plants on those planets to do this magical alchemy, this translation, this transmutation of the sun's energy into these elements of life, there's no life. So however it happened here on Earth, that green plants evolved and life, the fish, the animals, the birds, us, everything evolved out of that. So it's very important to understand that process of physical evolution, but equally important to understand the process of our spiritual evolution, that our function is dependent on our relationship with this divine light. Okay. And I would say that as we translate or transmute this energy from our spiritual source, Eckhart Tolle called the unmanifested, what many call God, that we receive this energy from the energetic principle of the universe, and we translate or transmute it into, generally I always talk about creativity, enthusiasm, but love, you could say that love, see, love is just a complicated word because many people have very confusing ideas about love. So what I want to talk about today is to look at our basic transmutation as transmuting this light into love, and then a variety of ways that love could be useful in the world would be things like compassion, care, creativity, enthusiasm. It's like, but it's not love the way we think of love as like a commodity, like romantic love. In fact, one of the basic problems of our world, of our species at the tribal and egoic levels, is that they mistakenly see love as something in the world that they need to seek and find, when in fact, when we become awake, enlightened, aware, we see that love is actually not of the world at all, but it's from the divine source, and we can give it as a gift, that our job is to express love in a variety of forms in this world. So instead of seeking it, because people who are seeking love in the world will never actually find it. And I know from my experience, I mean, I've had probably at least 20 pretty powerful encounters with romantic love as a possibility, but always it's not real. It's something, and what I came to realize after a while, I was very good at falling in love, but I was very good at falling in love because I was creating the love. I was expressing the love. I was manufacturing it and introducing it, and just mistakenly believing, oh, as a projection, that it was this other special person that was responsible for the feelings that I was having, when in fact, it wasn't this other person at all. It was always me. Because I always remembered times when I would move on from a relationship and I would have this feeling of freedom, this feeling of lightness, like, wow, like I still have the love because the love's in me. I didn't lose the love because this other person or I decided to end the relationship. So always that was the mistake. And this is one of the big parts of A Course in Miracles, is teaching about special love and special hate, that the kind of love that we mistakenly believe is in the world is, again, our basic denial of our own divinity, okay? So this is, again, part of the egoic conundrum, is that ego will first deny and then project. So we deny our divinity, we deny our essential nature of love, and then we project it onto someone else, mommy, daddy, heroes, partners, children. We see them as the source of love mistakenly, when in fact we are the source, or the source uses us as its expression. So big shift for us when we move away from special love and we see love in its true sense, that we have this relationship, energetic relationship with God, with the divine source, with the energetic principle of the universe. And our relationship with this source is what brings this energetic reality into us, our energy body, and then we translate it, we give it as a gift to the world. So again, like we talked about before, last time, in forgiveness, that we come to know the world as a place for giving to instead of for getting from, and especially this relates to love. So we will come to find great satisfaction, deep comfort in this knowing that we are this radiant, walking emissary of love in our world, and we can express it in a variety of ways. And I think, again, why the reason Eckhart Tolle and other teachers point people towards nature first is that it's a really, really good place to practice this love. to sit in a beautiful place and feel this radiant love. It's the essential relationship that we have with nature, with rocks, with trees, with sunsets, with water. We have this deep loving relationship with nature. And so in the beginning, as we're learning about love, we might think again that nature is giving us the sense of love and comfort and beauty and all that. But in fact, we have it in us, and we can very easily experience it in relationship with nature, because nature is not going to complicate it. It's not like having this relationship of love with another person where there can be complications, because it's like, wow, I'm really giving this beautiful gift of love, but so the person is not receiving it properly or not returning it properly. And so we get confused. And so this is, again, part of that early part of our development where we're continually disappointed because we're not receiving back what we think we should, which is, reciprocal to what we're giving. So